Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Frankie B, and this is part two to the Kickstarter Kaijus and Cowboys print art. There you go, I know I could do it. So anyway, my previous video, I actually did go a lot longer than what I was expecting, but today I'm going to be on my P's and Q's and make sure I don't go too crazy with the talking and, do a little bit of talking. And then this is another one of my mashup videos, whereas, talk a little bit and then I'm going to go into the hyperlapse. But anyway, this is inking day. So, yeah, it's going to start. So I'm going to take out my trusty Micron 01 and just go to drawing. Now, this is the character, the mech with no name, and he's kind of like a bounty hunter. He's the concept I immediately had when I first started this character. When Matthew first brought up this idea, he said, oh yeah, this cowboy guy, a bounty hunter that's going around, but he's a robot. My first thought was like Clint Eastwood, the man with no name, but I wanted to have like a mashup of like that character, but what if he was like a T-800, from Terminator series, but also, the appeal of, I love the old designs of the old, robots and mech designs from the 60s and 70s from Japan, where he has a face, but it's this weird, you know what I mean? Like that weird, eerie kind of, like he has grills on his cheeks so you can see exhaust come out. I remember there was an anime, or manga, but then anime, Heat Guy. I love that. I love that anime. I don't think I've ever read the books, the mangas, but I did enjoy the anime. So I envisioned that, sort of like immediately, as soon as you said that, I said, okay, this character's gonna be this guy, and then, when he's really teed off, you see like this steam come out, this exhaust of steam, meaning like his internal organs or whatever mechanisms are like, heating and venting and stuff like that. One big thing for me, I would say, is that I've never been much of a fan of robots with guns in their hands. Now, mind you, I don't want to be a hypocrite about it, but, I love super robots. And the cool thing about super robots was that they had very specialized weapons, like Get a Robo would have the tomahawks, and, they were axes, and then I forgot what Grandizer had his sickles, sickles that came out of his shoulder, and, and then King had his crosses that came off his knees, and then Vanguard had his the Spartan or javelins that came off his legs too, and stuff like that. So they were very specialized. And something about just robots with guns, just kind of, I mean, mind you, Terminator, I'm not saying the context of how Terminator is. I'm thinking of more larger mechs and stuff like that. I always looked at that and I said, well, why wouldn't they just incorporate weaponry into the robot? So like Iron Man, so you have all these weapons that would sort of come out the forearms, stuff like that. It just makes sense to me that that would just be the logical sense, so that if a weapon or a gun is knocked out, then, technically the whole body of the mech is a weapon, and the enemy can't tell where the weapon is. It could be anywhere. You could have weapons, you could have guns in his legs, or, wherever. So that's pretty much my way of thinking when it came to this character. His hair actually has, they're dreadlocks. I want it to be like these thick kind of dreads, but they're like wires, these thick kind of wires in which he can plug in his stuff with them. So if you see the comic and stuff, we did a scene where he can actually plug into various other units and stuff like that. So he's a Batman pajama. All right. I might play around with some other different things, but yeah, I like the Microns. Microns are pretty good. And I'm actually drawing on a comic book board paper, blue line art, Like I said, I'm so happy that these companies are doing that. I used to do that, or the whole thing, the process you know, the cutting and Bristol board and cutting. But again, you know, that sounds all great and dandy. But as a commercial illustrator, your greatest asset is speed. It's all about speed, you know, especially with gigs, especially when you're working with multiple clients. And the thing is that anything that takes up time, you got to toss that out. You got to try to figure out a system to be able to enhance your speed so that you're not spending time wasted, precious time, on things that don't really need it, you know. And one of those things was like, I sat down, I said, do I need to be cutting my own, you know, my own boards when clearly there's a, you know, people already doing it. Plus, it's a write-off, you know. You got to be smart, you know. Tax season come around and stuff like that, you got a viable write-off right there. So I said, you know, hey, I'll purchase my boards. I said, all right. So anyway, going back, you know, what I said in the previous video was that I had this idea where I wanted to show like a multiple shot scene. You know, I'm always like, that's one of the things about me is that you know, I try to test myself, you know, to see how far I can take something. And for this right here, you know, I just had this scenario where he's just fighting these two massive Kaijus, and you know, you see this scene and playing around. Like, that's one of the things about me is that I loved how Jack Kirby would kind of play around with a lot of aesthetics and with the perspective and stuff like that. So you couldn't even tell what was up and what was down, and I like that. You know, I have fun with it. You know, I was just thinking about it earlier, how the fact of just the idea, like, of not over analyzing whether or not someone's perspective is not so perfect or whatever. You know, I just think that in some degree is like, style is style. You know, I don't, you know, a person doesn't have to be completely, you know, anatomically correct on something, or like the buildings don't have to be so perfect that it's almost lifeless. You know, the whole point of humans is that we're not these flawless creatures. We have flaws, you know, and even in our work. I think that's why I'm able to appreciate work that I see that's really done really well, because you can sit there and go, wow, these human hands created this, you know. And it's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. What is perfect? I don't know what perfect is. You know, I'm creating characters that don't exist anywhere else. They're not real. I want them to, this is their world. This is how they look. This is how things are viewed through my perspective. You know, and hopefully people who check it out, you know, can appreciate that, you know. That's all. I'm all for the escapism of art and storytelling. And that's kind of like we're saying that we're doing. I know that Matthew, you know, he's in his approach to this character is that it's a lot of silent. He was like, Frank, this is almost like primal. I don't know if any of you guys out there have seen that amazing show, Primal. Oh man, finally got to watch it, and it is incredible, and just really just no dialogue. It's all just straight out animating and telling stories. It's almost like the manga Gone, you know, and possibly other stuff that I probably missed out there. But Gone is like one that I don't even have the whole series of Gone. I just only have a few books, and it's incredible. Like, to be able to tell a story just as an artist, just all based on the visuals, is incredible to me. And the artwork's just, there's no way to even, I can't even express how incredible, what an artist. All right. Now, the thing that I'm going to do a little different with this piece is that I'm putting sound effects in it. And like I said before, when I was first drawing this out in pencil, was that I'm not a, definitely not a, letterer. I'm not a letterer. I say shy from it. But, you know, something about doing the sound effects, let's just, you know, writing them in and stuff like that, I like that. Because again, I treat it like the art too. It's overall art. There's many times where I've seen lettering and it just doesn't, you know, there's no connection to the artwork, you know, and that's unfortunate. It's a really fun character. Well, this is a chance for me to do like a more human-sized character. I mean, I forgot what my original concept design, but I think he's roughly like around 6, maybe 7 feet tall. So he's tall. He's like almost like a basketball player height. Pretty intimidating. I mean, if you saw him in like low light or whatever, you'd be you know, peeing yourself. All right. The key thing is that when I started working on this character, I was like, man, I love Machine Man. I love a Jack Kirby's Machine Man. Oh, I ended up getting the what was it? It was the volumes, you know, just to read the whole series. And I have to admit, it was a sort of letdown when they actually depowered him. Like after Jack Kirby's run on it, it just kind of, I don't know, it kind of fitted for me a little bit. I love like some of the stuff that Steve Dickel did, but I don't know. It's really tough, man. Like when they took Jack off of that, it was like Jack had a certain energy to it. And yeah, he made it very special. So I tend to, when I read it now, I just focus on those. I like those a lot more. Yeah, they depowered him a lot. Like to me, I thought that was always cool about Machine Man, how he can just, you know, have his parts and stuff, and he can do stuff, and you know, it almost brings back how Iron Man would be. Like Iron Man, I remember some cool stuff where the early Iron Man books where he would run out of power, and all of a sudden he's like pulling a plug out of his hip or something, and he's like, oh, I gotta plug myself up, running out of power, I don't want my heart to stop, you know, stuff like that. And it's like, oh dude, that's so cool. I love tactile stuff like that. I do. That just shows my age. Like I love the fact of things that they're very tactile and things break down, and you know, I'm not into the whole, you know, I don't mind when things can, you know, like what's that stuff? Oh man, nanites. I don't mind nanites, but I think that they can be almost like an easy thing. So it's like, oh, you shoot me, and then also I can heal real quick. And it's like, you know, if I was to handle nanites, I would really put them through it. Like there would be some limitations. I love the fact of having limitations on characters, because I think that builds more. Like to me, that engrosses. It brings you closer to what a character is. Like I don't like an all-powerful character. You know, I love the fact that Dr. Doom's Achilles heel was like he had this scar on his face, his vanity, you know, something like that. That's why I loved how Marvel would handle many of it, because a lot of the characters are psychological. Even like DC too, they had psychological things, but you know, those would be the Achilles heel. You know, the way that you could take down a villain, or even a good guy that's going through stuff. You know. All right, throw some stuff on him. I just want to also say I'm very grateful. I'm glad there's people that dig my work also. You know, I'll throw a shout out to you. You know, I look at it where it's a sense that, you know, there's a lot of artists out there, and so, you know, you have a lot of choices, and the fact that you come by and check my stuff out, I'm really appreciative of that. You know. It's always for us old schoolers who grew up on a certain way of style and stuff. It's an interesting battle these days, because you have styles and stuff that existed for the last, well, now 10 years. You know, no, 11 years. No, what we have now, 2021? Yeah, it's on 11 years. So from the 2000 and stuff, and I mean, then you got me, some dude coming in going, okay, yeah, you know, I like Herb Trimpe and stuff like that, and that old school, and you know, and I love characters that are like, you know, not so perfect, it's not too real world, you know. You always wonder, you know, you kind of hope that there's still people that can, you know, look at that stuff and go, okay, I get it. You know. All right, let's look at this guy. Put that little dap. Boom. All right, hope you're enjoying it. All right, I'm going to, this is the point where I'm not going to overtop. I'm going to switch over onto the hyperlapse, and so that you can enjoy the rest of this. And once again, thank you so much for coming by and checking this out. And if you can, please share and please subscribe, you know, so you can stay up to date on when I get some new posts. You know, the toughest thing is that I work on so many different projects, but, you know, unfortunately, many of those projects, I can't, you know, I have to wait to get the okay to show stuff. And that's okay, that's fine, I don't mind that. I just, you know, it does take some time. So in between, I'll try to come up with stuff and, you know, have some little videos or whatever so you can check out the process. All right, so anyway, thanks again. And hey, man, remember, keep that art flowing. All right, stay strong and creative. Peace. Come in a little bit closer.